Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest installment of our podcast, NASJE Spotlights. We're here with both our recently past president, Joy Lyngar, and Jeff Schrade, our newly sworn in president this week. We are talking to you from lovely Columbus, Ohio, just post the wonderful conference we had here this week. So we're going to follow the same format we've been following, and I'm going to pose the question to each of you. And I hear they want to swap who goes first, so we'll make sure we do that. So our first question is the most serious. Coffee or tea? Past President Joy?
Coffee, definitely. And this week I'm obsessed with pour over coffee and how finely I grind my beans.
Okay. How finely do you grind them?
19 on my fancy grinder.
Okay. You may have to check out the grinder because I need a new one.
And coffee for sure, black. Please don't dilute the caffeine. And French press. I appreciate the French press, which must be ground very coarse in order for it to work.
That's right. Yeah, y'all are the first two coffee drinkers.
No, get out.
Yes, I know. Weird. We have a lot of tea drinkers in NASJE. Our next question is beach or mountains?
I'm going to have to say mountains. I love the beach. But there's something special about the mountains and kind of the diversity of, the flora and fauna and all of the interesting animals and things that you meet in the forest. So the mountains is my answer.
Okay. I'm going to, again, have to agree with Jeff. There's a pattern here. I'm from Reno, Nevada. We're right up against the Sierra Nevada mountains. And so hiking is one of my favorite recreational activities. And my dermatologist would prefer that I stay out of the sun. So mountains yes. with the appropriate hat.
Us fair-skinned folks have to stick together.
Off the beach.
Off the beach, yes, exactly. What is the favorite photo you've taken on your phone in the last month? And you get bonus points from our NASJE folks if you share them with me, and I can post them later.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, I was lucky enough to take a family vacation this summer to Spain with my two youngest kids who are teenagers. And so I've got lots of pictures of the four of us hamming it up in front of some really historic places. And so I'll share one with you.
And I'm going to say from NASJE, we had a nice reception at the top of a building on a patio on kind of the 9th floor here in Columbus. And the new career professionals hosted it, but it was attended by many of our NASJE members. And there was like a 270-degree view of the Columbus skyline. And I put my phone in panoramic, and I took a couple panoramics and caught about 25 NASJE members in the process. So that picture is going to live on in my phone and might even make its way to the website at some point.
Nice. That was one of the highlights, I think. It was a lot of fun and a really cool place. So, thanks. So this is a question for both of you, but it's slightly different. So I'll go with you first on this one again, but what was the best part of your NASJE presidency? And then Jeff will say, what is the part you're most looking forward to?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've got two. One is just the opportunity to establish that sense of connection amongst the members all year. And, through the conference, through webinars, through our great website, the work of our committees, I felt like we stayed connected, and you could see that reflected once people arrived in Columbus. And then the other part was representing NASJE around the country at the events of our allied partners, like the Conference of Chief Justices and the Conference of State Court Administrators, and getting to brag about the work we do and remind them how important it is for any systems improvement that they want. Education is a component of that. So I got to spread the good word.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
This is the easiest answer or the easiest question of the bunch. And I'm looking forward to September 8th through the 11th, 2024, when we'll be hosting the 2024 annual conference in Tempe, Arizona. So we're very excited, as are the whole team in Arizona, to roll out the red carpet like Ohio has done, and attempt to come close to the level of hospitality and excitement that the team from Ohio here at the Judicial College has created for this year's conference.
Yeah, it seems like maybe there was some planning that went into you deciding to run for president the year it was hosted in your region
It's been
or
a
something.
decade in the making.
I love that. So this is another one that I think has been really interesting. What was your first job ever?
Is it my turn to
Yes,
answer?
it's your
Okay.
turn first.
So my first job was at Whataburger, which as a Texan, you'll probably appreciate. Some of those on the East Coast might not realize, but Whataburger is a burger joint. But it's a really tasty burger joint. And so I flipped hamburgers and sold shakes for my junior and senior year in high school.
If you don't count babysitting, my first job was for a catering company, and so we did banquets. I was the person that set the plates and the napkins and then brought the salad. And one time I famously dropped a salad on the lap of the Premier of Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
True story.
Can never forget that one, right? Okay. And on that same line, what was your favorite job you've ever had?
So again, if I don't count judicial education, and I'm not going to, I loved being a waitress in a cocktail bar. I thought it really demanded a lot of the skills that we use as judicial educators. You have to have your social skills. You have to have some physical ability. You have to have a good memory to keep track of everybody's order, and then the customer service aspect of it. And, you know, it gave me a lot of tips during a time when I really needed them.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a high school civics teacher. That's something maybe in some time in my life I'd like to do, but I did teach and train them for a while before I came into the court doing law-related education. And so that really, we did kids voting in Arizona in the 2008 election. And so that civic education and being a part of that is really kind of, I think, some of the most rewarding work I've done. You know, judicial education is right up there, but civic education truly has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, well, both of those sound fun. I was also a cocktail waitress, so I have to say, definitely a fun job. And I think everyone should have to do it to deal with the restraints.
And they'll be kinder to their servers.
Yes,
forever.
it would make the whole world a better place. Are you a book person or a movie person?
Is it my turn to go first? Man, I'm going to have to say I'm a movie person these days. I make it a point to see every movie that's nominated for an Oscar. I don't get all the foreign films in all the time, but I get everything else. So I started out as an English literature major and read a lot of books, but now with my busy work schedule, movies are easier for me to put in.
Any movies we should see that you've seen recently?
All the Oscar nominated movies are good. I was watching The Banshees of Inisherin again on the airplane this weekend, and I really I like movies that are allegories and recommend that.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. I tend to agree with Joy, and movies are definitely a lot easier, especially binging Netflix or some of the other great like TV series now that are out. But, you know, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I just read the Silo series after watching the Apple TV series, and there's these great like sci-fi you know, TV series that are coming out, like The Foundation, and just some really good ones that have really gotten me back into reading sci-fi. And we went to a bookstore here in Columbus, and I returned with a list of recommended reading from Dan Reddick of some sci-fi titles I had never explored before. So I have a feeling that if you ask me this question next year at this time, I might say books, but for the moment, it's movies.
We might have to steal that list and post it for everybody. That's the best part about these podcasts. Hate listening myself being recorded, but I've gotten such good recommendations for TV and movies and books and articles. Okay. Let me find the next question is there something that you saw or read this week that everyone should check out? And maybe that was something you saw or read at the conference or was suggested to you.
I can't remember who's going first, but
Think we're Jeff.
Yeah, you know, there was just so much, and I think that I would have to say the principles and standards of judicial branch education. We had a session on that, and this is a document, a seminal document in NASJE's history, that was written originally in the 1980s, revised in the 90s, and then the last time it was revised, I think it was 2001. And we're going to be spending a significant amount of work this year on revising the principles and standards. They're very sound, but they don't include a lot of the technological advancements that we've experienced in the last year. But as I read through it, it was kind of a shot in the arm for me. It was kind of a reinvigoration and a reminder of the important fundamental concepts and purposes of judicial branch education.
Great. Well, I guess I'll say that I went to the breakout session that was put on by my colleague, Dr. Christine McDermott, and she was really trying to get folks to think about evaluation at the top level of the model, Kirkpatrick's evaluation pyramid, which is impact, the impact on litigants that use the system, or society as a whole. And it's really a stretch, I think, for judicial branch educators to think much past their own post-course evaluation or a 6-month follow-up self-report. So that kind of information that she provided is something I'd like to delve into a little bit more and recommend others do the same.
Yeah, no, those both sound very interesting. And I think it's funny because I heard so many people comment about those two topics this week. And like, oh, we have these principles, and I knew about them. And some people who were like, yeah, I was involved in the last edit, but I totally forgot about them. And when I went and reviewed them, I was glad I was doing many of them. So I've heard that from a few people. And then the dreaded question, virtual or in person?
In person.
In person.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty common answer.
We're virtual.
There's a few people who,
those of you at home, wish you were here.
Well, we're in person at least.
Yeah.
Usually I do these over Zoom, so this is a little bit different. And then how many years have you each been in judicial education?
Okay, yeah, I think this will be 15 years for me. 15 years.
25 in June, last June.
So, wow. Favorite part of NASJE? You've both been longtime NASJE members and served on in various capacities. So what would you say your favorite part is?
People. I mean, the connections, the friendships. It's been really valuable for me this year to be able to call people who aren't in my world to get advice about what's going on in my world. Appreciate that.
I really look forward to conference attendance each year. You get a chance to interact with people socially. You get a chance to see a new city. And importantly, you get a chance to focus on the kind of fundamentals of judicial education and innovative processes and brainstorming some great ideas to take back with you. And you get to do that without all of the noise and distractions that are going on in the day-to-day operations of your, judicial branch education department. So I really think over the years that my favorite part of NASJE has been kind of right here at the conferences, along with everyone.
Okay. Do either of you have, I know everyone in NASJE has made that NASJE best friend, that influential person, whether it's because they're a mentor or they just found someone who is their same kind of weird, as mine would say, that's across the country. Who is that person for y'all in NASJE currently? And so I know that might have changed over the course of your years. Is there someone people should get to know in NASJE that's really helped them out?
Your first, Jen.
Yeah, before you said right now, I think that answer would have been Karen Thorson. She was my predecessor in Arizona. She was the director of the California seizure, and really laid a lot of the groundwork and fundamentals for NASJE. And getting to meet her and kind of interact with her and share stories of people we know and kind of how things operated back in the early days of judicial branch education was a really special thing for me. But I'd say today that person would probably be Margaret Allen. She's just a dynamo. And, of course, she works at the National Center for State Courts on the Institute of Court Management. But she makes her way across the nation, hither and fro, and is always there to kind of talk things through and to help out, and very enthusiastically participates in everything. So.
Well, there must be something about Ohio because my pick is John Meeks. I've been fortunate to know him for a long time, and plus I get to see him several times a year. So I think that's made it easier for me to maintain a friendship with John, and his wisdom has really been invaluable this year, and I've learned a lot from him.
Both some of the first people I met in my NASJE journey a few years ago. So that's not probably a coincidence, or that's not a coincidence, I don't think. And so we've heard a little bit about what Jeff thought of the conference, but do y'all have a highlight from this particular conference that just was a great moment? So I know you said the rooftop was great with your picture, but anything else that was really special?
Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Judge Capisi, who started us off. It was just a short 30-minute session, but I think the intention was to set the stage to let judicial educators know what kind of an impact they can have on the life and career of a judge. And so I thought that was a piece that was worth really kind of working on, and maybe incorporating some aspect of that in future conferences.
Yeah, a real shout out to the group from Illinois and the group from Indiana. Both of those states had just a tremendous participation and footprint in this year's conference. And gosh, I really thought it was really awesome to meet a lot of people from those two departments, and really looking forward to their involvement in future years.
Cool. Do you have, as past president and current president, do y'all each have a goal for the year for NASJE?
First?
Yeah, the big conference is coming up in Phoenix. Again, that's September the 8th through the 11th, 2024 in Tempe. And but I really think technology is going to be a focus. We've heard about the emergence of AI and how that could be a very important factor in the future of judicial education. Who knows? But it's definitely on the radar screen. We've heard about the continuing, resources that are being invested into remote and hybrid training. And, we've heard from, big technology and automation systems being rolled out. And I just really think that that it'd be a good year to kind of maybe focus on some of those technological trends and challenge the membership and the leadership to think about how those affect judicial branch education.
Well, and my goal is to support Jeff this year. I'm also really interested in continuing to make this a place where members can gain strength from each other. Our country still is polarized and politicized, even about things that shouldn't be political. And it's not easy to be an educator anymore. So, the session that the DFA committee put on this year at the conference, and just this continuing adherence to principles and standards, I think can give our membership strength to continue to push the envelope on some, controversial topics.
Nicely said.
Yes. And then our last question we've been asking everyone, we've got some great advice so far, is what's the best advice you've ever had, you've ever received? And it doesn't have to be anything big or mind-blowing. It can be personal advice, professional advice. We're open to anything. We're just here to learn a little bit.
Well, this is so big in my mind, I can't think of anything else, but the spirit that I live by is seek first to understand and then to be understood. It comes from Covey's habits of effective leaders, and it's how I live my life. I always just try to be curious about people and their motivations and ask a lot of questions, and it gets me out of trouble a lot, and it helps diffuse any resentment that I might feel in any situation. I think it helps other people feel heard by me to be inquisitive. And so I just highly recommend Covey.
And I made this joke in the session I was teaching, but I grew up in Missouri before coming to Arizona. In Missouri, I got that kind of fifth grade curriculum where they teach you everything about the state and kind of brainwash you about the state. And then we promptly moved to Arizona after that. But the thing that stuck was the state motto from Missouri, which is the show me state. And I really, I think maybe it's a Rush song, Show Don't Tell, a Canadian group, right? Canadian rock group. But this idea of, being brief in your communication, but thorough in your actions. is one that I really try to live, and that I talk to my kids about, and that I really think is a good lesson for judicial education too, to show, don't tell.
Definitely landed on some good advice. And I want to thank everyone for joining in and listening or watching if you did that. And look for some more spotlights in the future. If you have a member, a project, or an agency that you'd like to spotlight, feel free to email me, and you can see that email on the website. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Amber.